faces in the entire world. He knows that guy is a Terminator, and yet he still let it kill him. Like, once I realized that, I was like, oh, that kind of ruins that cool idea for me. Does that bother y'all at all? I'm sure it doesn't bother you, Brandon, but what about you, Mike?
I can see it. I mean, I guess I kind of bought into their logic of like, oh, he was chosen because of his, sentimental attachment. Like, that would let him get closer. But, yeah, no, I mean, it does make sense that...
Well, this John Connor, he probably goes up to him, hey, hasta la vista, baby! He gives him a hug or something, right?
Yeah.
So, to me, though, that adds fuel to how this whole timeline is getting spiraled out of control, because now he knows, right? So when he gets there and he's older, he's not going to let that guy kill him, right? So that can't happen, which puts this thing all out of control. The one thing that I thought you guys were going to, and I had a defense for, prepared for it and everything, because I thought you guys were going to complain about it, is how does the Terminator know to do certain things, like pull down the shade to look for the keys?
Oh, the human casualty zero, that also bothered me.
The human casualty zero.
Oh,
I thought you were going to say... I thought you guys were going to say, how does he know to do this? Well, and I had a headcanon explanation for it all.
Was it because they trained him in the future in the Resistance, right?
No.
Well, what's your explanation?
Because it fits in with my thing of it happening over and over and getting spiraled out of control. I was going to go cause and effect on you guys, right? From Next Generation, where it's like they think because everything's repeating, there's like this echo that they're like able to remember. And that's why certain things in this don't bother me, of the contrivances of him being right where he needs to be, of all these people meeting up, of having Silberman in here. Like, all these things work for me, of having this repetition in this series because of this cause and effect in Star Trek The Next Generation, like that type of a time error. I don't know. That's another thing.
That's a terrible explanation.
Oh.
You remember, guys, when he did this in T2 and everybody liked it? We're going to have him do it again. We're going to have him wear the same costume because no one's going to recognize him if he's not in a leather jacket and he's wearing sunglasses. That was,
and they're on the thing because it was meant to be. I don't know.
Why does he have to wear... He wore sunglasses and leather jacket for half of the first movie. Okay? And then he is in a biker bar in the second movie. And then the third one, he has to go get a leather jacket, and sunglasses twice. And the reason he's wearing the sunglasses, I assume, is to cover up Arnold's crow's feet under his eyes to make him not look as old. That's my production
I'm your father,
assumption.
Luke. It's what people like. It doesn't have to be 100% right, but it's what
just
people like.
Have him wear different things. And so, hey, at least Genesis did that right. Have him wear something different. So,
like Elton John glasses?
Oh, my God. All right, Brendan. It's time to wrap this up.
Mike, is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you'd like to address?
Not really. I think it's a pretty good movie. I think it's definitely a lesser movie by Terminator standards, although I do have a very skewed opinion of these movies. I mean, yes, Terminator 2 is the best, as everyone knows, but after that it gets a little weird. But I would still put this kind of in the middle.
Well, we are not going to rank them, but how would you rank them, Mike? We'll rank ours when we get after Dark Fate comes out. We're going to rank it. How would you rank them now out of the 5?
Okay.
Do you know?
Fine. I brought this on myself. Terminator 2 would be number 1, but then after that, I would go with Salvation.
Yes, I like it.
And then I guess the first one, and then this one, and I mean, Genesis is dead last because that movie is really, really bad. Really bad. But I'm really looking forward to Dark Fate, so...
Will you promise to listen to my podcast with Max on Genesis? Because Max is going to join us.
I'll try. I keep on typing in franchise fatigue, and I can never find it in iTunes. So now that I know, maybe I'll be able to track it down.
I respect your high ranking of Salvation, Mike. I actually love Salvation. I think it's very underrated. I wouldn't rank it above the first one, but I think it's definitely the best Terminator thing that's not Terminator 1 and 2. So Good on you, sir.
I'm looking forward to our discussion next week because I've only seen it twice. So
I saw it 3 times in the theater, my friend.
I know.
Right.
You told me.
Sarah Connor Chronicles is really good too, by the way.
It is good.
I agree. There's a lot of great episodes of that. I think the first season's better than the second.
Yes, the
They
9-episode
did some
first
weird
season, yes.
stuff. Yeah, they did some weird stuff in the second season, but I was disappointed that didn't come back.
Yeah, thanks, Fox.
And Bear McCreary did the music for it. He was
Well,
a busy man.
Mike, now comes the time when we give these a rating. So, out of 5 time displacement units, Mike, what would you give Terminator 3?
I guess I'd say 4. I mean, I should give it 3, but I'd probably say 4.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Talking to y'all, being a little more positive, I'm going to come down 2.5 time displacement units out of 5 for me. So, half the movie of the last one. So the first 2 are 5, this one's 2.5. So, what about you, Brandon?
4. I'm definitely on a 4 on this one here. So the things that I don't like don't really take away the movie except for Nick Stahl, and I have a heck of a lot of fun every single time I watch this movie, and I'm really glad we covered this because I'm glad I listened to the commentaries. There was lots of interesting information. Jonathan Mostow did a great job of the commentary, and this was a lot of fun, and I loved talking about it. This has been a really good conversation as well. 4 all the way.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree on one thing, that this movie is not as good as Terminator 2 or Terminator.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to judge it for what it is and not what it's not.
That's right.
I mean, it still has major issues. But now, our Terminator impersonator count is next up. Mike, could you tell us how many impersonations the Terminators do in this film?
No, I could not.
What about you, Brandon? What do you got?
I think there's only 2.
Okay, what are they?
They're both TX, and it's when she does the boyfriend and when she does Kate.
Correct. Those are a couple of great moments, by the way. The boyfriend, when he punches through the seat, the TX is the boyfriend, and drives the car through the back seat with the arm. Gruesome. I love it. Totally in line with the first 2 movies. And then also when the fake Kate, as the TX comes in at the end, and Arnold just blows her away. And then, you look at, her dad's face, he's like, oh, my God. That was just a very intense one. I enjoyed those impersonations. So, yes, we have 2 Terminator impersonator counts in this film, which brings us to 8 so far in the franchise. So, our final question, being franchise fatigue, the question we ask is this franchise fatigue? So, Mr. Schindler, I ask you, after Terminator 3, is the Terminator franchise fatigued?
No, I mean, it might be a little tired. It might want to rest its eyes a little bit, but I don't think it's completely fatigued.
Brandon?
I definitely agree. I think it's definitely not fatigued yet, and I can't wait to see the Future War movie that we're going to be obviously getting next.
Yeah, I agree. It's okay, I had some major issues with this one, but we ended with Judgment Day. This one actually should have been called Terminator 3 Judgment Day, if you think about it.
Yes, it is. Should have. Yes.
And it's okay, if they make another one, it finally has to break the formula of we're going to send 2 things back in time, and one's good and one's bad, and da-da-da-da-da, we're here to kill O'Connor. Finally, that will be broken, and we can get the Future War, the story we've wanted to see for 3 movies. So how does that turn out? We'll find out next time on Franchise Fatigue. But no, I agree. It is not fatigue, so bring us on the next movie. So, Mike, thanks so much for being our guest this week. And when you're not firing plasma weapons out of your hands, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, you can find me on my website, filmdamagepod.com, doing a show called Film Damage. You can also find me on Trek.fm, doing a show called Tracks on the Line. That's what it's called, right? I think.
Sure.
Okay, cool. And then you can also find me on thenerdparty.com, doing a show called Retro Perspective. And you can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Mumbles3K.
See, Tracks on the Line works because, it's like a line is like a train, right?
Train tracks, yeah.
Train
Yeah,
tracks.
sure, that
so,
works.
You should have a train for your show art. Tracks on the Line.
Yeah, no, I like the picture of the dog.
But it should be the line on the tracks then, wouldn't it be? I don't know. Something like that.
Something like that. Something like that.
Zach? Where can people find you when you're not pulling machine guns out of coffins?
Well, you can find me on Twitter personally at MoronZach. That's MOOREONZACH. I'm also the host of my own podcast, Always Told in Smallville. We talk about each and every episode of that Young Superman show over there on Twitter. You can find us at Always Smallville with one S. I'm also a host of Standard Orbit, Trek FM's original series podcast. We talk about all things Captain Kirk and the Enterprise, old and new. You can find us on Twitter at Trek FM. And Brandon, when you're not hiding from nuclear fallout in a shelter in the mountains, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella. I'm over on Trek FM with The Line, which is just the regular show talking about Picard stuff. You can find me over on the Fana Podcast Network with my friends Chris and Tom, a show called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. And over there we discuss Hitchcock films one at a time. And we're going through them chronologically. The last episode we recorded, which we recorded yesterday on Star Trek Day, was Rebecca. And that was actually the 80th anniversary of the first day of filming of Rebecca. So kind of a wonderful day for us to be recording that podcast. So watch for that very shortly. Should be out the first week of October for you guys to listen to. We'd like to thank the executive producers of the network, Ken Tripp and Tony Robinson. Thank you so much for all that you do for the network. We'd like to thank Zach Tripp for his wonderful theme music for our show. And we'd like to make sure you guys are aware of the new show on our network called Mickey's Marvels, where Patrick Devlin and Chris Tribuzio discuss Disney topics, and which includes Star Wars now. So I'm pretty excited. I think I might be joining them for The Mandalorian when it comes out. But that is released as of this recording. We've got 3 episodes for you to listen to. But that's all we've got for you this week. Once again, next week we'll be talking Terminator Salvation. But until then, we'll be back.
Hasta la vista, baby.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.
So.
Like Elton John glasses?
Oh, my God. All right, Brendan. It's time to wrap this up. So I thought I was tossing it to you to say something to wrap us up.
Oh, and I thought I was waiting for you to wrap it up.
That was what that was.
So, okay, well, Mike, is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you'd like to address?